What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about Faraday Future, ticker's FFIE. I want to give you a breakdown of what is happening with Faraday, what the data points are saying, and where it's at with compliancy. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate it. And with that, let's get right to it. So currently it is up 4.64%. As far as what happened this morning, I'm going to break that down, but I'm going to start off with compliance. So when it comes down to Monday, that was the very first, or I guess that was the 10th consecutive day of it being over $1 consecutively. And based on the rules, 5810, as I've indicated in the past, it does state that it's anywhere from 10 to 20 consecutive business days. That's up to the staff's discretion, Nasdaq staff, of course. So when it comes down to it, there has been no letter to say that Faraday is now compliant with the Nasdaq, and based on Nasdaq's website, which they do update daily, it still does show Faraday Future as non-compliant. So when it comes down to it, you just have to unfortunately sit tight and just make sure and ensure that Faraday does stay above $1. Because when it comes down to the staff making their determination, they do factor in a lot of different things, but they kind of ultimately look at the likelihood of Faraday or whatever stock dipping below $1. So the fact that right now it is at and kind of stabilized around the 350 range, I think it is fair to assume that Faraday is ultimately going to get their compliance letter. Just as far as when, it might be the 15th consecutive business day, or it could be ultimately the 20th. It is unfortunately in the staff's discretion. So it kind of does suck right now being stuck in limbo, because I do feel once that compliance letter does come in, Faraday stock should shoot up. But when it comes down to obviously what happened this morning, it was largely because of this. So good old 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗛. So he did testify today on a couple different things, but ultimately he did say that he wants to make the markets safe and build trust in the capital markets and just more have a higher integrity. And of course there is several other things that he did state, most likely just kind of pushing blame away from the SEC, more so to FINRA on a lot of specifics, such as even they didn't refer to Faraday, but obviously it meets the criteria of that. So it's kind of sketchy, but no matter what though, this is ultimately what did give it a little bit more of a boost up, because shorts returned some of the shares. I don't know if they heard maybe respect and integrity and they just decided to close out some of the positions. I'm not sure. I'll give you an overview of what they are doing. Currently they're increasing 101.24 thousand shares. Finally, Ortex has updated this, so it does show 24.72% of the free float being shorted. It is still, or I guess as of yesterday, it is on the threshold list. 3.98 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow is 12.13%. But just wanted to draw your attention to these two charts, so the borrowed shares and returned shares. So as far as the timeline, it looks very close, but this basically was this right here. So very quick, roughly about, I guess an hour essentially in. So this is what this chart was. So shorts just quickly returned some of the shares, but then they started to increase, which as a result caused the stock price to go down. So for whatever reason, shorts found it advantageous to close out their positions. But one thing that I've really compared in the past is Faraday and Mullen. Under my other channel, I cover Mullen quite frequently, but oddly enough, everything else was kind of red. So Lucid was red, Tesla, Rivian. But when it comes down to Mullen and Faraday Future both had a very quick spike very first thing. Mullen has kind of stabilized a little bit and held its gains, but Faraday has pulled back quite considerably. So of course, like I've said in the past, Faraday and Mullen have a lot of the same toxic lenders. Mullen recently started a lawsuit against, I guess, in what they believe to be some malicious acts coming from TD Schwab. So you never know, that potentially could come from Faraday. And this is why I was very excited when I did see this news come out. So I'll just pull this up, Faraday Future, based on their last news right here, So it looks like they are trying to increase transparency, but one thing that stood out to me is the fact that they are already jumping the gun, saying that they are looking for legal action. That's if they do find any illegal short selling or market manipulation, things like that. So I definitely am very optimistic about that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that anything is going to come from this? Do you think that there's going to be a lawsuit similar to Mullen or not? When it comes down to options, $137,000 in calls being purchased versus 156,000 in puts. So based on this information, people are anticipating for it to unfortunately trend down. So that's something just to kind of consider. And as far as where it's at, so with it being at $3.76, it is currently between this S1 and the pivot. So $3.39 is a very, very strong support. And as you can kind of see, it did bounce off of that. So 338 is the all-time and I guess 52-week low for today. So it bounced off of that. And as far as the next big resistance that you need to watch for is $4.83. So when it comes down to it, like I've mentioned, these are kind of wide. So the gap between these pivot points. So you just have to anticipate a lot of volatility. And for the most part, what happened today, it kind of touched both spectrums. So a lot of interesting stuff is maybe coming in Faraday's case. But like I mentioned, once that compliance letter does come down the pipeline, I feel like that will really positively help the stock price. But as I always say, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. And as far as this goes, looking at the momentum indicator shows number of retail investors have been getting in. Stochastic is currently at 1, so that is completely just very oversold. No defined trend right now though, but like I said, I do feel that if good news does come out, that means that Stochastic should recorrect and cause it to go up very fast. But let me know your thoughts on Faraday in the comments below. Give yourself a shadow if you have been buying, selling, holding. What is your take with Faraday in the comments below? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo like I've been sharing with you. Sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock can be valued up to $2,000. So this is one of the best deals, only up until September the 30th. Link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate you watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Faraday Future.